Hey, Pancakes! Now I know you haven't heard from me in a while, and that's because life has happened, but I just want to say that it was great getting to see you guys in person a few weeks ago when we were taking care of Savannah when we drove out there to Tennessee, and it is awesome that I can be back in the mix of your daily vlogs. But today, instead of talking to you about what I've been doing these past few months, I'm going to talk about one specific event, and that is what I went to last week. Gauntlet. For those of you that don't know what Gauntlet is, which is pretty much all of you, it was basically a retreat for a bunch of 6th to 12th graders to go down to Florida and kind of revive their spirit, to get a rejuvenation flowing throughout them. So when they go back to the school year, it's not just hard on them, but they come out fighting. So this video is going to be about that week. What happened, start from end, with a little stuff in between. So previously we were told that we had to be at the church by 4 a.m. But luckily, someone told us, no, that's not for the students, that's for the volunteers. You actually have to be there at 6 a.m. So instead, we got the grace of sleeping a little bit later. But when we got to the church, Mom kept asking me, is there a medical release form that I need to sign? Because I know that for these certain type of things, those are usually required. And I'm like, Mom, no, I don't need a medical release form, because no one had told me that I needed one. But when we get there, she drops me off, people take me places, I wait in line for about 20 minutes, finally I get to the front of the line, the person's like, alright, great, what's your name? Oh yeah, that's your name? Okay, where's your medical release form? And I'm like, medical release form? I never knew I needed that. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're gonna have to get your mom back here so she can do that, or else she can't come. And I'm like, dang it! So she finally gets there, signs the medical release, she leaves. Around 7:30 we get on the buses. I'm actually probably the reason why we were so late, because I was pretty much the last person to get their crap together. And once we got on the bus, I tried to read, but that was quickly taken away from me when they started playing Pirates of the Caribbean. And at first I was like, I've seen this a million times, but then it was action and it drew me to it. And then after that I was like, okay, I'm gonna read for the rest of the trip. Then they put on Remember the Titans, and that's one of my all-time favorite movies, and I'm like, I have to watch Remember the Titans. You can't make me not watch that. And so I didn't read, and I didn't really read. I did read a good portion of the book that I'm reading, but I did not finish it, which I could have done, and I could have started my other book. So when we get to Daytona, it's not raining, but it is kind of misty, and what the people decided to do is, we're going to take your luggage out of the bus, and we're gonna put it in the street, and then we're gonna call people out to come get their luggage. But right after they started unloading the luggage, it started pouring down rain, and our luggage was soaked. People were kind of furious. They had been in the bus for 6 hours, and they were like, what is this madness? So that wasn't really the best start. But after that, we got together with our room leaders, which we had established earlier at a pit stop on the Florida-Georgia line. And we made our way to our hotel rooms and quickly figured out that the boys had to take the stairs and the girls were given the privilege of taking the elevator because of reasons. That in itself is understandable, but we were on the 8th floor of a 15-floor hotel, and I'm sure there were people well over our limits, so that's kind of the reason why here and there we kind of sneaked onto the elevator, but for the most part we had to take the stairs the whole entire trip. Anyway, we got to our room. It was an amazing view right off of the beach. And a little bit later we went to our first service, the evening service. It's crazy because on this trip there were 6,166 people, which is already like mind-blowing because it's a crazy amount of people. Over 4,500 students and around 1,500 volunteers. That's a crazy amount. But that night, Perry preached a great message, and then followed by that was the invitation, if you don't know Christ, come down here. And something that I have never seen before, 209 people walking down that stadium, and he kept on pushing after pushing. He's like, no, there's still more people, you gotta go. Suddenly, more people start going down the auditorium, and it's just, I was just like, whoa. So the next morning, we wake up at 7, we go down to our morning service by our Fuse pastor, Brad Cooper. And then after that, we went to these community groups, which is where people from a certain age group were assigned a different color. It was assigned the purple color for Gauntlet X, which is like 10th through 11th, kind of that mix. And this is a mix of people from all over our state, because New Spring is a one church in many locations kind of deal, spread all across South Carolina. We split into these groups of 8, with 4 boys, and 4 girls. And basically what this group was one of the like campus leaders or something like that would come in the room, and they would just simply ask a question, and then the entire group would go around and they'd answer it, and they'd all kind of give a discussion on that, give their opinion on that. And at the very end he said, okay, now we're gonna assign community group leaders, people to keep the message flowing, keep conversation, to be inviting. And I was like, oh snap, I really want to be the leader. By the grace of God, I was the leader, so, you know, that's cool. But anyway, yes, basically all the community groups was answering questions, discussion, relationship, connection. And I won't really go into much detail after that, because that's pretty much all it was. I mean, every day was different, but that would make this video a whole lot longer. And you wouldn't want that, would you? So anyway, after the community groups, we had lunch, and I don't know if you know this, but Jimmy John's has the best triple chocolate chunk cookies out there. I'm just saying. And after lunch, we had from 12, or like around 1 to 5 of complete free time. So our group went to the beach. I got a little bit of a sunburn. My back is really blotchy because I did the suntan lotion myself, and someone said it even looked like I had wings, which I guess is cool to have wings. Sure. So after that, we had lunch, then we waited for the evening service, and we had tried to get down to the front. But earlier I stated that there were 6,166 people there. So for the most part, we stuck to this one section, 218. We're in the auditorium. Perry preaches another great message. I think that was actually the best, or one of the best messages of that week. And that night, when the invitation came, 246 more people came down. And that night got me, because like you could feel the spirit in the room. I just let it go. I just started bawling, and it wasn't like it wasn't just the tears. It was the crunched up face, the like heaving, like, I don't know, some serious stuff went down that night. So after that, we entered into these fuse groups, which were people from your own campus, like small groups kind of. We got to talk, and I got to kind of tell other people who I was, where I'm from, and all that. And so that was good. Starting foundation for future relationships was always great. So the next morning rolls along. Wednesday morning, pretty much the same schedule. Brad Cooper preaches in the morning, community groups, lunch, or free time, or during lunch. Our campus pastor, Michael Wilson, he took us to meet Perry Noble, and there was actually a line that he had built. People were taking pictures with him, and Michael Wilson was like, heck, I got connections, we're cutting everyone. So we just kind of get to sneak in there, and I got to get a picture with the pastor, and that was cool. But that was not the only time I got to meet him, and you'll find out in just a little bit. And coming back for dinner, and then the service, that night, Wednesday night, was a miracle. I'm going to just say that, a miracle, because Perry preached a message, and for me it wasn't even the best message, I have to say. But to put it in short, the sermon was 41 minutes long. The invitation was an hour long. And 551 people ended up giving their lives to Christ. And again, the horrible, gross cry came along. Anyway, that night was so incredible. Afterwards, when we were walking back, we had to cross the street to get to our hotel. And there's this one crossing lady there. And at the moment, she was just really upset with how she was being treated, and she was just kind of talking to her buddy there who was working with her. Just kind of like, people aren't treating me right. This, stinks. They get to go into their air condition. We have to be out in the humidity until 4 a.m. And I don't know, I felt compelled. I felt something speaking to me saying, you have to pray for her. And I'm like, we're about to cross. I mean, I'm going to let my group, we're just going to, I don't want to mess the group up. And so I was just kind of sitting there waiting, and it was just like, pray for her. Pray for her. Anyway, I ended up walking back to the room. We ended up going back with the fuse groups, but I just kept feeling it. Pray for her. you have to pray for her. And so I just went to my leader. I was like, Juan, I feel like something's telling me I need to go back to that lady and I need to pray for her. He's like, we're gonna go right now. And so we went right back down there, found her, asked her what her name was. Her name's Ashley. I asked her, do you think I could pray for you? And she seemed kind of okay with it. It didn't seem like that was kind of with her thinking, but with her night, she was completely okay with that happening. And so I just kind of laid my hands on her and I prayed for her. And it was not the best prayer in the world, I'll tell you that, because I've never done that before. But I was just doing that, and then at one point I heard someone say, "Preach it, amen," and I looked, and I've drawn like a crowd of the people of the fuse from the Gauntlet, and I'm like, oh dang it, now I'm like a people actually anyway, so I finished up that prayer and I just kept on telling her, like, I want people to appreciate what Ashley is doing here tonight. I want people to bless her tonight. I want people to recognize her for her talent and for what she's doing for us. And so after that prayer, I hugged her, and she was just kind of like, yeah. Juan said later that she looked kind of embarrassed. I mean, in that situation, who wouldn't be embarrassed? But as we were walking across the street, she had to stop for us here, and I just said one last time, bye Ashley. When me and Juan crossed the street, as we were getting onto the sidewalk, and she's still in the middle of the street, the person in their car waiting to cross at the red light rolls down the window and says, "Miss, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing here tonight." And Ashley walked up to her, and that was the last thing I saw. That was the last thing I heard from them. I don't know what happened after that, or what, but later that night, or actually later in the morning, Juan brought that up, and he was like, oh my gosh, that, like, happened 30 seconds after that prayer. And I was freaking out too, because I was like, I mean, like, that was an immediate result. That was something right there, and I was like, God is, oh my gosh, like, I still can't really explain that. It's not something you can explain, it's something only that you can experience. So I really hope you guys can get to share that experience. But next morning, Thursday was baptism day. In the morning alone, 15,029 people were baptized, which is also a crazy amount of people. And then the day continued like a normal day, except in the morning it was this lady, Lisa Turkers, who gave the message. She gave a pretty good message, followed by the community groups, lunch, free time. That free time, instead of going to the beach, we went to some of the shops. Our group went to Cold Stone, and the manager there at the Daytona Beach, I don't know if you're watching this, you were awesome, because you were hilarious, and you were just owning the crowd. And I want to meet you again someday, sir, because you were on top of the game. After we got back from Cold Stone and we got to our hotel, we all just kind of fell asleep for the last hour of free time we had because we were all just kind of drained. So Thursday, lunch comes along. Mike Wilson tells us that he has a plan. He's going to get us on stage because apparently he got into this lip syncing contest, and he was going to be singing The Circle of Life. All we did was wave back and forth as the Circle of Life went along, and someone took a video, and we were so uncoordinated how it was just kind of mixed up. But we got to meet Perry again. I got to shake his hand again. We got to just be backstage, look at what that was like, and be on stage and do that for the like 30 seconds we had, but it was still pretty cool. And Mike Wilson should have won that battle. Lady from Anderson who bought her votes with a t-shirt cannon and played 3 songs. I'm talking to you. Anyway, after that night, Perry gave another great message. I forget how many people gave their life that night. But after the sermon, instead of going to our fuse groups, we just talk like, no, baptisms are continuing on the 5th floor pool. People are still getting baptized, so we ran up there because we heard this one kid was getting baptized. And we ran up there, got there, right before it happened, and that night, 41 more people were baptized. And I took a video of it from the beginning, and I told myself, keep filming, because this is too amazing to stop. So I just kept filming until the battery or the storage ran out. And that video ended up being 29 minutes long. And it would have been 29 more minutes if I kept going. So when we got back, we packed our things. We didn't really have a fuse group that night because the next morning we were shipping out. Luckily, when we got back our information, we were the campus who had to leave at the latest time, and so that next morning we woke up, went to the Starlight Diner, and right before we had to get back to our stuff, because the whole entire week I'd been asking my leader if he could get me a shirt because I didn't have any money, and I still hadn't had a shirt. And at the corner that we were at the red light, there was this little shop, and there was this lifeguard Daytona Beach shirt, and I was like, Juan, please, and he was like, alright. We went in there, like, it took only a minute, got the shirt, got out, light was, like, counting down, and so we ran across, got back to our rooms, and we came back. And even on the bus ride home, on one bus alone, 10 more people gave their life to Christ. I just want to say that week was life-changing. It was incredible. It was something that you do not see every once in a while. I just want to say that I'm just so thankful for the people that helped us, the people with safety who had to put up with us, the pastors that cared for us, the room leaders that listened and loved us. I just want to say I'm looking forward to going back again next year. Isaac, I will see you tomorrow, Thursday. JT, I'll see you Friday. Pancakes, I will see you later.